Welcome in, Auntie Tracy. We're gonna start in 5 minutes. Welcome in, everyone coming in. We're gonna start in 5 minutes. In the meantime, please enjoy the music, relax. Let's put you in the mood so we can ride this journey together. The topic today is gaslighting, delayed information, when time works against you. Hello, Kojo Yankson. Welcome. Tracy B, welcome. We'll start in a few minutes. Today's topic is gaslighting, delayed information, when time works against you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining. We're going to start in a few minutes, precisely in 4 minutes. Today's topic is gaslighting, delayed information, when time works against you. That's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be exploring that. In the meantime, enjoy the, music. Relax, and let's unravel these together. Okay, folks. We'll start. Welcome everyone. I welcome you in once again. This is Mind Matters. We do this because we believe that your mind matter, my mind matters, all our minds matter, and that's why we are here to look at some things that make sure that our minds are, you know, together. Anyway, so we've been talking about gaslighting. You know, how reality gets taken away from you. And here we had talked about the nature of gaslighting, what it looks like. Sakafas, welcome. Thank you for joining. What gaslighting is all about. And then the last one we did, we talked about the techniques that are used to perpetrate gaslighting. So last week we spoke about emotional redirection, but now this week we'll be talking about delayed information. That's when time works against you. But before we begin, let me just ground this space so that everyone can feel safe and connected and relaxed. All right, you're not required to speak, only if you feel like. You're not required to share your details. Of course, again, only if you feel like sharing your details. And you're not required to confront anything tonight. That's very important. You can listen, you can pause, you can leave and return. Remember, silence is participation. This is not therapy. This is awareness, and awareness protects you. That is the reason why we're doing this. When you become aware, you become more powerful and you can then protect yourself. Hence, you get protected. That's what this is all about. So, let's look at the core idea. Like we've always said, gaslighting does not always silence you. It sometimes makes you wait, not for healing and not for clarity, but for answers that never fully arrive. Delayed information is one of the most under-recognized and damaging mechanisms of gaslighting because it feels reasonable on the surface. After all, what's wrong with saying, let's talk later? Or, for example, now's not a good time. Or, I'll explain when things calm down. But when actually is later? And when later becomes a pattern, something dangerous begins to happen. And this is where you find that time begins to erode clarity. Because the longer something stays unspoken, the more risk that, the clarity of the situation will be eroded. So people will forget some things, some facts. People will mischaracterize some facts. And all of this just diminishes the quality of the discussion, if there will be any discussion at all. It's a technique. Welcome, Tagati Abraha. Thanks for joining. It's a technique that is being used. But let's try to put this in perspective and see where we go with it. So you raise a concern calmly. For example, maybe with your spouse, with your partner, anyone really, anyone, whether your colleague or your boss or just anyone. So think about it like this: you raise a concern calmly to the person, and they say, "Let's talk about this later." But then again, later never comes, or when later even comes, the information is distorted. And by the time it does come, you are no longer talking about what happened. You are talking about why you are still upset, why you didn't let it go, why you are bringing it up again. And that shift is not accidental. Welcome, Rachel, Sister Rachel. Welcome, Moreni KG. Thanks for joining. And welcome, A4C for Life. Welcome. Thanks for joining. So, you'll find that that shift is not accidental. if you look at the way this is, Lady J, welcome. Thanks for joining. When you look at how this works out, you can relate it to emotional direction. Only that this is different. This is delayed information. So the information is deliberately delayed in order that time erodes your clarity, because people forget, right? But by the time they come back to talk about it, or to say, oh, well, after they've told you, let's talk about this later. When later eventually comes, it's likely to be distorted, or it never even comes at all. So when it does come, you'll find yourself talking about why you are still upset, because of course some time has passed, and that's the technique to get you thinking, well, by now you should have calmed down. So what you'll be speaking about at that time is why you are still upset despite the time that has passed. In other words, you should have calmed down by now. Why are you still upset? Or you might be speaking about why you didn't let it go. Come on, time has passed. You should let it go, But again, don't forget, nothing has been discussed. No compromise is reached, but you are required to let go when, the issue has not been resolved. The other thing you might find yourself discussing, rather than what actually happened, what you'll find that is being spoken about is why you are bringing the issue up again. Don't forget, when you brought it up calmly, they were the ones who said, let's talk about this later. But then later never came. And then you brought it up again. That, well, so are we able to discuss this thing now? And then the next thing you hear is, why are you bringing this thing up again? As if you had already discussed it and resolved it, but you are not still bringing it up again, as if it wasn't resolved. This is a technique, and that shift is not accidental. This is what we're trying to make you aware. The more you're able to decipher the difference, the better equipped you are to deal with situations like this and empower yourself better. Welcome, Sister Emika. Welcome, Mimi. Welcome, Gold Flows and Unknown. Thanks for joining. Now, let's do a little micro check, given the example that I've just given. So, you can type T for time if you've ever waited for a conversation that never truly happened. You don't need to explain anything. And, what I just need you to do is to notice. Because we've just talked about the technique. This is one of the techniques of gaslighting you that's taking away your reality. This is one of the techniques. Type T if you've ever waited for a conversation that never truly happened. No need to explain, but it's important that you notice. It. So has anybody ever been in a situation where they waited for a conversation and that conversation never truly happened? Tamata, welcome. Thank you. The new study, welcome. Thanks for joining. Anyone ever waited for a conversation that never truly happened? Type T if you have ever waited. Okay, so let's look at what really is delayed information. What is delayed information? And why is it a technique in gaslighting? Yeah, I've been to Sister Rachel and Ademika, yeah. And it can be excruciatingly painful and frustrating when that happens. So, delayed information is just, a strategic postponement for clarification. So, it's not just because they don't have time. It's actually a strategy to postpone any clarification that you are seeking from the person, or any explanation or any accountability in a way that benefits the other person and destabilizes you. So I'm going to take that again so that you understand what really we're talking about. Kwedzwa, welcome. Kumba Sissoko, welcome. Thanks for joining. So again, delayed information is a strategy. It's a strategy by the gaslighter, the person who is trying to gaslight you, is a strategy they use to postpone any clarification that you are seeking, to postpone any explanation that they owe you or they should owe you, to postpone any accountability, but to do it in a way that it will benefit them and then destabilize you. Batena Murray, welcome. Saf, welcome. Thanks for joining. And this is not needing time to cool down, right? It's not even asking for space respectfully. It's not about pausing to think. However, delayed information becomes harmful when these delays are repeated, right? And clarity is promised, but it's not delivered. The delay itself is later used against you. Remember what we said about in the last one, where when eventually the time comes, you'll find that you are talking about why you are bringing it up again. That is using it against you, using that delay against you. They were the one who promised that you talk about it later. Come back to talk about it later. Later starts getting longer and longer and longer, and you decide to bring it up again because you need clarity, because you need it resolved, and you find yourself being accused of not letting it go. You find yourself being questioned about why you are still upset, or why you are bringing it up again. This is exactly what is meant by the delay itself is being used against you. So you are the problem against you. So you are the problem now. The issue quietly then moves from what actually happened. So think about it. They move it from what happened to why you are still on this. So the time itself becomes a weapon against you. Russell Andrews, welcome. Miriam Normin, welcome. Thank you for joining. So they use this weapon against you to make you feel like Monica Kabinski, welcome, to make you feel like you don't know what you're doing and you are the evil person. Now let's real life examples around, I'll say, intimate relationships, for example, right? So let's talk later. That phrase, let's have a look at it. So you go to your spouse or your partner, and then you said, what you said earlier hurt me. This is you talking to your partner now or your spouse. What you said earlier hurt me. And then they respond to you, look, I'm too tired to deal with this now. Can we talk about this later? Typically, you might be like, oh, okay, all right. And then you go. However, later becomes tomorrow. Then next week. Then why are you still bringing this up when you actually bring it up? By then, emotions have been dulled. Your memory would have been blurred. Perhaps you might have forgotten some things, or even the sequence in which things happen, which sometimes is fundamental to any clarity or even resolution, right? And then your confidence would have been weakened by then. This is why I say it's a strategy. It's a strategy to weaken you and then use the time as a weapon against you, also to weaken you even further. Caroline Hathor, welcome. 517U, welcome. Diamond, welcome. Aminata, welcome. Digital Diamond, Lima, Collect, thank you for joining. So, like I said, by then the emotions have dulled, the memory has blurred, and your confidence has weakened. Now you are framed as you are stuck in your ways, you are dramatic, you're unable to move on, and all sorts of things. Now, the other bit that we need to look into, another example I'll give you, is mood condition. That's what we call it, mood condition. Now, this happens this way. So they say to you, we can talk when you are calm. Note. So they're inferring that at that point, you are not calm and they will only talk to you when you are calm. However, in reality, at that point, you actually were calm. Yes, you were hurt by something that they've done. Yes, you were upset about something they have done, but upset does not equals to not being calm. So they try to mood condition you by saying we can talk when you are calm. is another tactic. But calm, because if you look at it in this context, calm, the word calm now becomes a moving target. It means they can shift it at any time they want for their own selfish interest. So if you are emotional, they move the target to you're too emotional. So when you are calm, let's talk. If you are composed, they move it to why does this even matter now? Do you see? You are calm and composed. The question they're asking is why does this matter now? If you are emotional, perhaps crying or upset, visibly upset about what has happened, they tell you are too emotional. We'll talk when you are calmer. There is never a correct moment in this example. If you notice, you say to your parent, that really affected me growing up, right? Because you're trying to have a discussion with them to help them see how something has impacted you, right? And you're telling them that really affected me growing up. And they respond to you, why are you digging up the past? You see, message they are passing with that response, past. You see, message they are passing with that response is your pain has an expiration date and it's already passed. In other words, your pain already expired. So why are you bringing it up now? Welcome, Kaya, Iron. There is a whole list of people who joined. Thank you for joining. Welcome. I can't call out everyone's name. So then let's look at workplace dynamics, for example. So, say for example, in this instance, HR delay, you know. So you raise a concern to your HR, and then you are told we'll investigate it, right? Typical, response that should give you some confidence. And then weeks pass. And by the time there is a response, for example, a witness maybe has gone away. A colleague who was a witness might have left the company, might have died, or anything like that. Details have become fuzzy because some email must have been lost or some document might not be found and all of that. And then the urgency of the matter in these circumstances, you find that is lost. It wasn't treated as urgent anyway in the beginning. And at the end of the day, the outcome is still that it's not an urgent issue. So now the issue appears unclear. Delay protected the system, but not you. That's in this example. You find that delay protected the system, but not you. So who then protects you? You are the one to protect yourself. And the only way you can protect yourself is to be aware. You need to be aware of how this thing works. You need to be aware of what it actually is, which is a strategy to avoid accountability, explanation, or clarification. So much so that it will benefit the person gaslighting you, but will destabilize you. So always remember that it's a strategy, and the strategy intends this outcome to destabilize you and benefit them. But then, why does delayed information work? Anjan, welcome. Why does it work? Delayed information. We'll begin to ask that question. Delayed information works simply because clarity is time sensitive. That's the simple answer to it. So if you want something to be clear, it's time sensitive. And that time usually is around the time something happened. The human nervous system, you will notice, well, maybe you don't notice, but I would explain it to you. The human nervous system relies on timely feedback. It relies on resolution. It relies on narrative closure. You see, this can even lead to some people developing anxiety disorders, which is a mental health issue, but that's a different debate, a different discussion for another time. But again, note the human nervous system. So if the human nervous system relies on timely feedback, resolution, and narrative closure, and they are not getting that, all of those gaps, if it's persistent and continuing, would leave the person experiencing it to begin to have anxiety issues. They'll begin, this is one of the ways anxiety can develop. Now, when resolution is delayed, you'll find that doubt grows. Your doubt grows. Self-blame fills the gap. You begin to ask yourself that, why did I even do that? My own self is too much. Why did I even, maybe I shouldn't have, said anything. You begin to blame yourself. Another thing is emotional conviction weakens. What you believe strongly that, yes, this is the right thing, you are not doing anything wrong, it begins to weaken because you begin to look at yourself. Already, your doubt is growing. You are already blaming yourself. Of course, automatically, your emotional conviction will begin to weaken. So you are not even convinced anymore about what, your reality is. Then you begin to think, maybe it wasn't that serious. Maybe I should have handled it differently. Maybe I was too harsh. Maybe, I mentioned something that wasn't necessary. Maybe I'm the one dragging this out. Maybe it's me. Maybe this, maybe that. And at the end of the day, that's not insight. All those maybes, they are not insight on your part. What is happening to you is erosion. Your reality, your conviction of what has happened, your reality about what actually happened is now being eroded. This is where you find yourself. Now, I want us to look at this where it's a core line, and I think perhaps repeating it might be helpful. Remember that delayed information doesn't resolve conflict. It does not resolve conflict. It relocates it into your self-doubt. That's what happens. I'll take that again. Delayed information doesn't resolve conflict. It relocates it. It takes it away from what happened and turns it into your own self-doubt. Now, let's play a little game. Survival or strategy. So the game is survival or strategy, but this one is a time edition. All you need to do, I will state some behaviors, and you can type in the comment section S for survival if you think it's survival, and P for personality if you think it's personality traits. So the first behavior is dropping issues to keep peace. That simply means you decide not to pursue a situation further, all in the name of so that there can be peace. Do you think that is a survival strategy or personality trait? S for survival, P for personality. Let's make this interesting and type out what we think. Dropping issues to keep the peace. Survival or personality? Kenny, welcome. Both. Zizi, thanks for your answer. Okay. The next behavior, apologizing just to end tension. Survival or personality? Apologizing just to end tension. So you are in a discussion with your partner, and then they are all, maybe demonstrating upset, disappointment, and then you start apologizing just so that can end. It's almost similar to the first one, which is dropping issues to keep peace. So I'm guessing that your answers will be the same on that. Okay, with Zizi is different. All right, the next behavior is waiting for the right moment that never comes? Is it a survival thing or a personality trait? Waiting for the right moment, which never comes. Another behavior is second guessing whether it's worth raising things. So you're looking at stuff and you are thinking it's not worth raising it. But that thing really affects you and you want to discuss it, but you're thinking it's not worth raising it. Is that survival or personality trait? Interesting. Cool. All right. So last behavior, letting clarity fade because conflict feels costly. So, because you might lose a whole lot more in your estimation, in your assessment, you decide to by yourself you decide to blur the clarity or allow clarity fades. So you are changing your own reality. You know what happened, you've seen what happened, but then you start telling yourself that, well, don't believe everything you see. It may not be, it may look like that, but might not be like that. Letting clarity fade because conflict feels costly, just because you're going to lose a lot. So, question, is that survival or personality? Okay, at this point, although, I mean, if anybody wants to come up to uh, share why they think any of these behaviors are what they think, it would be a great, it would be great and helpful for insight for those of us that are here and listening. Anyone want to come talk to us about why they thought what they thought about these behaviors? Just send a request to come up, and you can share that with us, if only if you want to. Okay, so no one's offering. All right, so let's look at the internal consequences of delayed information. What you'll find is that over time, delayed information trains you to mistrust urgency. So you begin to doubt whether the situation is urgent or not. Because, over time, you've always had this delayed information. Then you also doubt timing. Is it the right time to raise this issue? Is it not? Whilst there's a difference between actually truly considering the right timing to bring forth an issue, the other side of it it's not palatable. It's not acceptable, because the result is over time experience of delayed information is what's making you doubt the timing. Of course, in that scenario, there is never a correct time anyway to raise the issue. The other thing that it trains you to do is to suppress emotional momentum. Now, let me briefly speak about emotional momentum. Emotional, for you to think, for example, for those of us who drive, you're driving a car and all of that. And I'm not even going to talk about the normal movement of a car, but let's look at climbing a hill with your car. Now, you'll find that you need to gather consistent pace, speed, and momentum, which is the force that drives the car. That is what will push it ahead as it climbs the hill, right? Guess what happens when you ease off on the momentum? You put the car at a risk of rolling back down the hill. So, emotional momentum in this situation is a situation has happened. There is an emotional impact that situation has created. Now, that impact itself, it's a force, and that force is needed to be able to table what the issue is and paint the true picture of the impact of that issue so that it can then be effectively dealt with. However, the consequences of this, of delayed information, will mean that you'd have to then begin to suppress that momentum. So you stop saying this matters, but then you start saying things like it's probably not worth it. So you move away from this matters and we need to deal with it. You now move to well, it's probably not worth it. And in our own vernacular parlance, we'll say, I can't kill myself. It's not oh, I beg. I know if you shout. Yeah, that's one of my favorite phrases of I know if you shout, So it's another phrase that means exactly it's probably not worth it. Not because it isn't worth it, but because waiting has worn you down that you can't even be bothered to. You feel so weak to even want to start talking about anything. These are the internal consequences of delayed information. I'm just going to check in with all of us for a minute. Please type R if you replay conversations long after. Type D if you drop them entirely. And type B if you bounce between both. So if you are the kind of person that keeps replaying conversations long after it's been had, type R. If you are the type that just drops them entirely, type D. But if you do both, if you bounce between both, you find that you bounce between both, no judgment. It's just for you to notice. Because sometimes we do a lot of things and we're not even aware. That we are going through something or we're experiencing something. It's all about awareness. And awareness protects you. So let's do this together. Just little tiny participations like this would help not just you, but everybody else participating. So again, type R if you find that you replay conversations long after they've been had. Type D if you drop them entirely. And then type B if you bounce between both of them. Okay, Richie says it depends on the kind of conversation or situation. Yeah, it depends on it. That's why B is there, so that if you find you bounce between both, depending on the circumstances of the conversation. All right, let's play a little interactive game, right? I'm gonna ask a question, and then you can type stop or deeper. Okay? And my question at this juncture is gonna be, should we stop here or should we go deeper into what delays does to trust? Should we stop here or should we go deeper to explore what delays does to trust? Anyone want to go deeper? The blue pill or the red pill? Stop if you want to stop here. Just type stop. But if you want to go deeper, if you want us to explore what delay does to trust, just type deeper. Welcome, Kivis Rush. Tranquility, welcome. D. Oh, okay, cool. All right, let's go deeper then. I want us to look at delayed information versus healthy pause. Again, delayed information versus healthy pause. I'm going to remind us at this point that delayed information is a strategy. Is a strategy, a gaslighting tool that is a strategy used to avoid clarity, explanation, accountability in such a way that it benefits the gaslighter and destabilizes you. So let's remember that when we are now looking at delayed information versus a healthy
pause. So in other words, we're not saying that let's talk about this later is wrong. That's not what we're saying. But we're trying to get us to see and understand patterns so that we can differentiate what is right from what is wrong. And in this case, we are going to be looking at delayed information versus healthy pause. Now, this is not the gaslighting versus misunderstanding type of episode, right? But we must stabilize one thing. A healthy pause has a clear time boundary. We've got to understand that. Mohammed Salim, welcome. It has a clear time boundary. It returns with clarity. So even when they say, can we talk about this later? When they come back with curiosity to understand, what your concerns are and where this is coming from, so that they, with the intention and the view to bring clarity, which will, alleviate the pain or the concern. So a healthy pause has a clear time boundary. In other words, they will say something like, can we talk about this when I finish praying? Or can we talk about this when I finish from work? As soon as I finish, we can talk about it. So you see that time is connected to something. Is not a blanket, let's talk about it later. So it has a clear time boundary. And it returns with clarity, as I explained earlier. It addresses the original issue. So even when they come to address the issue, the focus is not that you are still upset about what happened or you are still devastated about what happened. No, that is not their focus. Their focus is what happened and how it impacted you. That would be their focus. So they will address the original issue. And a healthy pause does not shame the other person for waiting. So it doesn't weaponize your the delay. It doesn't weaponize it against you by saying things like, "Why are you still bringing it up?" However, delayed information has no clear return. Welcome, Relax. Taruma, welcome. Thanks for joining. Delayed information. Welcome, T-Babs. Thanks for joining. Appreciate you guys. So the difference between healthy pause and delayed information is that a healthy pause has a clear time boundary. Delayed information has no clear return time. A healthy pause returns with clarity. Delayed information changes the subject. A healthy pause will address the original issue, whereas delayed information, the strategy, the technique, will reframe your concern as persistence. In other words, nagging, like you are nagging, right? Now, a healthy pause it doesn't shame the other person for waiting. However, delayed information blames you for not letting go. These are fundamental differences that helps you identify which is which, right? And that's why we characterize it by saying a healthy pause, because it's healthy. It's okay to pause sometimes in the middle of conflict, in the middle of raising concern, in the middle of tensions. It's okay to pause, but depending on the character of that pause and the surrounding information following that pause, it could be delayed information, which is a strategy to avoid accountability, explanation, clarity in such a way that it will benefit that person. That's the person with the behavior of concern. So it will benefit the person who behaved funny, but it will destabilize you that the behavior impacted. So that is different to the pause where it has a timestamp, and they come back with a view to resolve the issue, to clarify, and then make things better. Welcome, Wealthy Prissy. Yeah, so we're not assigning intent yet at this point. What we're just trying to do is to get us to notice the outcomes. Notice the difference. Notice the outcomes. Again, I'll remind us that what we're doing here is to help us become aware of what this phenomenon is, how it is used, why it works. And once you know all of that, what you'll find is you are able to protect yourself, because awareness is what? Is protection. Awareness is protection. If you don't know, you can't fight against it. Now, you don't need to make a comment, but ask yourself quietly this question. When when conversations are delayed, do I feel clearer or smaller? I'll repeat again. Ask yourself this, right? When conversations are delayed, do you feel clearer or smaller? I'll let you ponder on that for a bit. Welcome, Kamal. Thanks for joining. I appreciate you guys. Again, don't forget, this is your you could create a journal and write things down so that you can go back to it. Welcome, Jagu. Thanks for joining. So you can go back to it at least and reflect. Now, I'm going to share with you a truth that I think you should hold. You might want to write it down if it helps you, so you can refer to it at a later point for further clarity. Well, you need to know that delayed information teaches you that your urgency is illegitimate and your clarity is optional. Clarity should never be optional, right? Especially when you are dealing with people you are in a relationship with, whether it's a business relationship, family relationship, romantic relationship, whatever kind of relationship. Clarity should never be optional. But you see, delayed information teaches you that your urgency is illegitimate and your clarity is optional. This is why delayed information is so powerful. And that is why it comes after emotional redirection. We already treated emotional redirection last week. If you missed that, you can go to our YouTube page at Mind Matters 2125. You will find all of the episodes we've done so far on there for anyone you've missed and you want to catch up on. They will be there. So we've dealt with emotional redirection last week, which is the first tool to orchestrate and to perpetrate gaslighting. This is the second tool, delayed information, that we are treating this week. Now, the next episode, we are going to move to the third layer, which is not time. The third layer isn't time, it's reality. Hello, Zizi. Okay, so the third layer isn't time, it's reality. And it is misinformation. When the story keeps changing and your memory becomes the battleground. I need you to stay with me on this, because all of these key techniques we're highlighting are very, very useful for you to know, because it will help you identify when an attempt to gaslight you is being made. So please, guys, you need to stay with me. Like I always say, your mind matters. My mind matters. All our minds matter. So do this privately before we go. This is for your private reflection. You can write this down if you want. When I raise concerns, do they get addressed or postponed? Think about that. Is that something you are experiencing from the same person, so that it's become a pattern? Does time bring clarity or confusion for you? Is that where you find yourself, that when time passes by, it changes clarity to confusion for you? Whatever it is that you're able to identify, again, is worth that you notice what you're experiencing. Now, the other question is, do I trust my sense of urgency? When you feel something is urgent, do you trust that feeling that that thing is urgent? Or you've been battered by some of these techniques, particularly delayed information, so much that you have now watered down your sense of urgency. There is no fixing here. This is just for you to notice. All right. And now, having said that, I'm going to end this live now. But before we do that, if anyone has any questions or anything to contribute, now would be the time to do that. Anyone wants to speak about what you've heard so far? Okay. I'm going to ask that you type one word that describes delayed information for you. This is just to feed me back, on what you've listened to so far, what you've heard so far. All right, just one word, and that one word could be anything from exhausting, confusing, dismissive, destabilizing, silencing. Again, silence is welcome if you want to be silent, but think about it. Think about what you've heard so far. If you missed all of what we've been talking about, please go to our YouTube channel at Mind Matters 2125. You will find a full episode there, and you can listen to it in your own time and digest what we've shared in those episodes. So okay, so for you, Rachel, Richie Omojeje, thank you. So for you, you say that delayed information for you is survival. Okay, that's fair enough. Anybody else? Is it exhausting, confusing, dismissive, destabilizing, or silencing for you? Hello, Mohammed. Thank you for joining. We are about rounding up, actually. Okay, so in the absence of any further contribution, or if anybody still wants to make any contribution, you're welcome to do it at this time. If you have any questions you want to ask, you can just come up and ask or type your question, and I'll be happy to answer the question before we call it a night. Oh, Zizi, yeah, okay. So, because we're about to close, what I'll do is to refer you to our YouTube channel. You will see there the episode where we explained in details what gaslighting is. I'm just going to give you a brief, but go into that episode. There is a whole lot of details about what gaslighting is and its origin. Gaslighting is simply a way that somebody tries to steal away your reality and makes you doubt what you have actually experienced. But I'm sure that's not really sufficient for you. But that's the bottom line of gaslighting. It is to get control over you by making you doubt the reality of what you have experienced or seen. So go watch that episode. Go listen to that episode. It's on YouTube at Mind Matters 2125. YouTube channel at Mind Matters 2125. You can share and subscribe so that as we put on new episodes, if you missed it, you'll be able to access it and listen to it. So you can learn you can learn what we've shared. No worries. Thank you everyone for joining. I'm going to bring it to a close now. Again, guys, check out our YouTube channel at Mind Matters 2125. I'm going to type it here in the section, in the comment section, rather. In the comment section for those who bear with me a moment. YouTube channel. At Mind Matters. 2125. That's what it is. So our YouTube channel is at Mind Matters 2125. Please feel free to visit it to benefit from the other episodes that we've done, particularly on gaslighting if you are really interested in it. On that note, I'm going to say thank you everyone who's joined. Thank you everyone who's listened. Everyone in the comment section. Everyone, participating. Everyone on FYP listening. Thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for joining. And I hope that I've been able to open your mind to some things that you probably didn't, know exist or probably didn't understand. It is why we say your mind matters, my mind matters, all our minds matter. Welcome to Mind Matters once again, and thank you all for joining. I'll see you next week when we'll be dealing with misinformation. The next technique for gaslighting. So we've talked about emotional redirection. We've talked about delayed information today. And next week, same time, we will be talking about misinformation as a tool of gaslighting. Until then, I wish you the best of the week, coming. Look out also for our midweek thought bites every Wednesday. We throw out midweek thought bites, just some little, as the name suggests, thought bites. The time is 8 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. Canadian and North American time, and 9 p.m. Nigerian time. Every Sunday at those times. That's when we do Mind Matters. Also, be sure to look out for our midweek thought bites. Every Wednesday, we put that out. It's just some little things to think about as your week comes to half. It's inspirational, and I hope that you find it inspirational and useful. Until next week, thank you all and see you again. Have a great week.